microphone.
Welcome to Two Parents.
And a microphone.
We're the two parents.
And that's the microphone.
And that's our qualifications to host this podcast.
That's
I'm
about
Shante.
And I'm Chris. Why don't you tell us about what our conversation is today?
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about this idea of being gifted something versus earning it.
Right.
Right? So
Age-old question.
do you like gifts?
I love gifts.
You do like gifts.
Not only gifts, but I love gifts.
Gifts.
The funny videos that loop around.
You like both of those.
I love both of those
So you
things.
like to receive a present, like
Yes.
something. You like to be surprised.
I
And
do.
you like gifts.
Yes.
You also like making gifts.
I do.
And that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
Absolutely nothing.
But I see where you went there. Okay, that's good. All right, well, I don't really like gifts that much. No, I really don't. It's not my
No,
love
they don't really
language
do
at
that much
all.
for you.
But, every once in a while it's nice to receive something, right?
Right.
Okay.
It is.
And I feel like this is a conversation that, we've had in our family
Yes. No, we definitely have.
a good bit.
Yes.
Yeah, versus should we give our children the things they want
Mm-hmm.
or should they work to earn it?
Yes. That is a
Both of them?
line. Yes.
We should give them the things
We
they
should-
want.
yes.
And they
Do
should work to
all
earn
of it.
We
All
should
of
do
it.
all of the things.
It is a fine line you kind of feel like you have to walk sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like as parents, we probably have done both. We've given them the things they want,
Yes.
and we've had them earn things. And I think for us, it's just been this kind of back and forth in our family because you and I are both very generous people.
Yes.
We love to give.
Love to give.
We love to see our children get super excited about things.
Right.
We've often saved the gifts for special occasions, though. Birthdays, Christmas,
Yeah.
Whether it's coming up graduation or it's a goal that our family has set.
Yes.
We have a travel goal and for our
Yeah.
daughter to be able to be in every state before she
Right.
graduates. And I look at that as a gift. That's not something that
Yes.
she has to have. It's a luxury.
Right.
But it enriches her.
Yeah.
It's not just let me give you this material possession. You go do what you want to do with it,
Yeah.
and you become a consumer.
Or a lot of times we've also done it in terms of, hey, we see you. We've seen what
Yeah.
you've done.
Yeah.
And it's
very
something that
good.
relates to that.
Exactly.
Just a way for them to be seen.
Yeah. And then there's the flip side of that where we've really required our children, if they wanted something, they had to work for it.
Correct.
Even from a young age. I remember our son and daughter making rainbow looms. That was
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
So if you know about the rainbow looms or you had kids that made rainbow looms, the rainbow loom bracelets, you
Yes.
probably have kids about our age or
Yeah, we just did it
or they
ourselves.
came back in style and we had no idea.
Yeah.
But they would make these bracelets and they actually walked around our neighborhood selling them and
Yeah.
made, for their age, I'm thinking they were 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
They
definitely
made,
were.
some good money.
Yeah,
to
going
do what they
around selling
want.
them.
And so that's one of the things we've talked about with our kids is we want you to work for what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Basically because we feel like they're going to respect it more.
Yeah. They have more skin in the game. They're
Right.
gonna take better care of it.
Yeah, they're going to take better care of it because they had to exchange something for it.
Right.
Whether it was their money,
Mm-hmm.
and once you start seeing that money increase and then you
Yeah.
have to give it,
Uh-huh.
it's it hurts a little bit because you don't have what you used to have, but also the work that it took. So
Yeah.
having them work and then and earn things. And I think that some of the conversations, though, that we've had have been well, so-and-so's parents give that to them.
Yes, we have
They
heard
don't
that.
have to,
Yes.
they can, get a new pair of shoes that are name brand and
Right.
it's just because they want them, not because there's a need.
Right.
We definitely, when our kids are in need, we definitely provide. But if it's just I've got 20 pair of shoes in the closet and this new shoe just dropped,
Yeah.
it's what, that's great. And I love the fact that you have, an interest in that.
Yeah.
But what are you willing to put up for
Exactly.
it, right? What
Right.
are you willing to sacrifice in order to go get that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've done that because it develops this idea of stewardship, this
Right.
idea of taking care of something that you have
Yeah.
and working for what you
Right.
want,
Right.
But like you said, it has been this fine line in our family.
Right.
Because we like to give.
Yeah, yeah.
And, our kids have been afforded some really cool opportunities because we like to give. But I think we're more that experiential givers. Like, I'm going to give you an experience over giving you
just an item.
That'd
be cool for just a little bit.
Right, because I think it's more about making memories.
Right.
And, it raises this question in me, too, of have we ever given our kids something because it benefits us versus just benefits them?
Right. Well, I'm sure we probably have at some point.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I think
it's
about it where maybe we want it to teach a lesson. This is so funny. Like, you want to teach a lesson about, like, your kids earning their way.
Yeah.
But it's like something you really want them to get as
right.
well.
Right.
And so then you're like, for example, we have a theme park by us. And like, okay, well, if you have to buy a pass or whatever, but then you and I really want to go. And when they were younger, it was like they're not staying at home by themselves. So it's like you got to get... So are we going to pay somebody to keep them so we can go? Are we all going to have passes? And so if we were like, hey, you've got to provide for that, right? Then it becomes we give them things around the house to do.
Yeah.
And in turn, we're like...
Right. You want to feel like, I am just all thinking about you, and this is about you, but ultimately it's like maybe 50% thinking about them.
Like, I want you to
maybe
come.
25% thinking about them, 75% thinking about yourself.
Right, and I really want you to come and be able to do this thing with me as well. But I don't want to break that you have to work for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you give them this extra things around the house to do, in reality, you end up paying for it.
Right.
Like, you really are. Like, your kid is doing something that... I don't know, should they have been doing anyway? Like, was it their responsibility? But it's like, I'm going to pay you to wash the dishes, Yeah. And you're like, okay, the dishes got washed. Maybe I had to go back behind them and clean them, and now I just paid them. And they're using the money that I paid them to go buy the thing that they were saving for. So I really just bought it.
When you say it like that, it seems kind of warped.
Yeah, I bought that thing. But I mean, it does something for them, right? It teaches them that value of work.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important that they have that because, we said last time, like, our children are young adults now.
Yeah.
So
18.
We have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
so they're driving. They have cars. And the whole conversation around that was like, you got to pay. Like, we're going to help you pay for a car.
Yep.
Up to a certain amount. So like, we're going 50-50 with you.
Yeah.
And then you've got to pay for your insurance and your gas. That came with some pushback.
Of course.
Because honestly, though, like, they got to go where they needed to go, where they wanted to go.
Right.
And they never had to pay for the car that they used.
Nope.
They never had to pay for the gas that went in the car. Now, when they did start working a little bit before they were fully driving, I might say, hey, I need some gas money because you're earning money. And just for that potential, I mean, that idea there of, for that purpose of, you actually are getting something from what I'm putting in and to teach them how to be givers and notice people who are doing things for them as well.
Yep.
But, like, this whole idea of now, like, I've got to pay for something, and they look at us like,
huh?
What do you mean I have to pay? Like, what do you mean? Like, my friends' parents,
goes back
like,
to that.
bought them a car, and, or they pay their gas money. They don't have to do anything. And so that becomes a conflict inside of not just our home, but I think for me, it becomes a conflict inside of me. I don't know if it does you. You're like...
And we're not saying that it's wrong to buy your child a car. That's not what we're saying at all.
We're just saying
this is just kind of how we feel and our convictions. Yours are going to be different.
Right.
And that's totally okay.
Right. And here's a funny story. I told our children, nobody bought me a car. I told my kids that because I remember going to the bank with my father, purchasing a car that he had from him and making that loan payment. And I was very, very proud of myself. And so I told them, no, I was not given my first car. And so then they go talk to my parents. And my parents did not remember history the way I remembered history. In fact, they told my children that I was given my first car.
Mm.
And I had to look at my kids and go, no, I wasn't. What are you talking about? And then they gave me the name of my first car. And I had to admit that I was wrong.
Yeah.
I had totally forgotten that my parents actually did give me my first car.
Yeah.
It was a car that they owned. They passed it down to me. And they gave it me. So I had then that was the thing I was standing on. That was my platform. Is like, I wasn't given my first car. You're not going to be given your first car.
Right.
I have worked for things. It has made me responsible.
Yeah.
You know, it's made me a great steward of things, and you're going to do that too.
Yeah.
For them to go and talk to my parents, and it all fall apart.
Leave it to the parents.
And so now we're still on this platform of you still have to work for what you get.
Right.
And I think it's proven to them that we really do have bills, guys. Like,
helps them realize and feel a little bit more of the squeeze.
Like, things don't just magically appear.
No.
Like, the groceries don't just, like, replenish themselves. You know, the gas isn't just magically there. I remember when our son first filled up a tank of gas, and he calls and goes, it was $60 to fill up this car. I was like, I know, I was doing it twice a week.
That reminds me of the story of our daughter in Apple Pay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She sent me a meme, and it was a guy using Apple Pay, and it said, I'm using Apple Pay like Apple's paying for it. And, true story, she was actually doing that.
Yeah.
She was Apple paying for everything.
Not realizing that actual money is coming out of your account.
Yeah. No, she realized it.
Yeah.
She was just... she was doing it very easily, and then she started watching that decline, and then she put a halt to that.
Yeah.
And funny thing now is, like, they're paying for their insurance, and it's just like, oh my gosh, my whole paycheck is going to my insurance, and you know, and then I have to put gas in, and then it becomes, well, don't ask me to run an errand for you because that's going to take my gas, and it's like, I'm sorry, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, for a good 16, 17 years of your life,
exactly.
I used our money to put gas in a tank that took you wherever you needed and a lot of times want it to go.
This account is not all the way even.
Exactly. So I think that's just so funny, though, that, like, we did raise our children like that to try to work for what they received. But, I mean, again, we love to give gifts, so I would say that they've been given a lot.
Yeah.
They've been given a lot. But, I mean, what do you think is the value of working for something? Like, what's the value? What is that? I mean, what is that? Why did we have that value in our family? Like, is it something that we just thought, this is what good parents do, or if that's what was done to us, we're going to pass it down?
I mean, for me, and I've always balanced and danced this line of, am I enabling them?
That's good.
Or versus, you know, are they going to see that I love them?
Right. Yeah, that's
thing. And
very true.
Such a tension to live in.
Right.
Because I've never wanted to have our kids enabled.
Yeah.
You know, part of that is selfish because I don't want them necessarily being that 40-year-old person still living with us because they haven't really learned to budget. They haven't really learned to make those decisions and make those hard choices and sacrifices that it can take some time because you don't have all the money you need for all the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
So you got to decide what's really important and what's not.
Yeah.
So I know that for me, that's always been a thing. And some of it has been selfish because I don't necessarily have to deal with that down the road.
Yeah.
But then some of it has been, you know, I personally think it's going to help them become more productive human beings because they're going to go through their own decision-making process. Yeah. And they're going to see what those decisions come with. And they're going to have to learn from those decisions that they make, whether good or bad. Yeah. So that's really kind of the tension that I've always lived in.
Right. There's that tension between enabling them or showing them love.
Right.
But I think, too, like, when they succeed, like, there is something that a parent can become very joyous when they watch their child succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think that kind of goes back to that conversation where we threw in that nature versus nurture. Like, if we're responsible for their faults, are we responsible for their successes? And that's like one of those deep.
That's a good point. Other side of the coin.
So it's another thing that you can pop in the comments.
Where do you guys think about that?
Like, do you think we're responsible for faults? Do you think we're rewarded for their successes? Like, what is it? Where is that line?
Have you struggled with that yourself?
Or is it just doesn't matter?
It is what it is.
Is it a roll of the dice, a coin toss? What is it? Right.
I know another one of our things with our family too is we have always kind of taken the stance of if they're gonna put some work in, we have no problem putting some work in too. It hasn't been like you just got to do it all yourself.
Yes.
I know for me personally, it's like I want to see a little bit of action first.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm more than willing to jump in and help out.
Right.
For instance, with sports, when they were first young, starting out, you know, playing sports, you know, if they liked, you know, say for instance, our daughter, she liked soccer. You know, if she liked it and she put some effort into it to get better and she wants to keep playing it, I have no problem spending some money on good equipment that's going to help her do that.
Right.
I wasn't necessarily going to do that her first year to try out and see if it was good.
Right.
I wasn't going to spend $1,000 on stuff for her to see if it was something she liked. But if it is something she liked, I had no problem pouring some money into it to help her be better at something that she enjoyed and she wanted to pursue.
Right. Yeah, that first year was clearance rack, cleats, and a $5 soccer ball.
100%.
Right. I mean, she kind of moved up to a place where she earned like the $100 cleats.
Yeah.
You know, but I agree with you there. So it is investing where there's momentum. Actually, John Maxwell, I think in one of his
many leadership books,
he talks about going with the momentum.
Right.
And so that's the same idea. Like I'm going to invest where there's momentum.
Right.
And so.
And I mean, there's a flip side of that coin too. It's not, you know, because at some point I believe, and this is probably where I could have done better, you have to be able to kind of give them that little nudge to do it, you know, to get them started. Yeah.
And I think that's where I always would go.
Right.
Gifting them things. It reminds me of sometimes like with their homework or writing. It was so difficult for me to give them verbal cues of how to do something.
Sure.
In most things. It wasn't even like homework, but I know like there's been times you're like, why are you doing their homework for them? And I'm thinking, I'm equipping them, you know, like they're going to, because it goes back to that, am I giving them something or are they working for it? And it's like, I'm teaching them how to do it. And you're like, no, but it looks a lot like you just wrote that paper for them.
You look at them like they're a lawnmower. I just got to kind of pull the cord a little bit, and then they're just going to go on by themselves.
Yeah, and I really did feel like, because that was my teaching style, was I need to show you how to do it. And if I give you an example, then you can look back at that example. And again, I think that goes back to what we were talking about in the first podcast about that one little blurb about authority, and that's what Dr. Henry Cloud was talking about in the Changes That Heal. Is like they needed that example to look to, and that's kind of what I was doing. And we did have a little bit of tension sometimes of whether I enabling something versus having them work for it.
Right.
And I think as a parent, I don't know when this cuts off. Again, guys, we told you we are not the experts.
No.
We're just doing life. We're having conversations, being real about our successes, our failures.
Definitely not gurus.
And just this idea of when does my teaching stop and their action start? Because when they had their gaps, it was like needing, okay, maybe I didn't do enough. Maybe I haven't given enough for them to be able to know how to earn it.
Right.
And so there was a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of tension like we fought about it, but there was like, we had different opinions.
We would have conversations about it, definitely. And I mean, because I think now talking about it, we were kind of on the end, the spectrums of nature versus nurture. Yeah. Because one is, I want them to naturally start doing it themselves so I can kind of help out. The other side of that is, I want to nurture them to them start doing it themselves.
That's true. We didn't even realize that, but we were.
No. I wish we would have realized that sooner.
But, I mean, going back to that idea or that thing that you said about enabling versus, like, loving them. I think that has been just this place of contention sometimes in our own family. Like, whether it's us, like, me going, hey, like, this is, like, me loving them, and I'm not okay with bad behavior, and they know that. But also, in the times that we've had to say no to them, it's like, I love you, but this is a no. And sometimes it's a no because I do love you.
Right.
But it does make it easier,
And
like
it's hard for kids to understand sometimes, too.
It definitely is. And I think that's the tension that you sit in is right now all they're seeing is my parents said no, they must hate me.
Right.
Or they're not giving me what I want, so they're not good. Because our goodness or somebody else's goodness is tied to what we can get from them, right?
Right.
And so that caused a lot, I know, attention in me because I think more than anything, I wanted my kids to know that I'm here for you. I love you.
Right, yeah.
And so my conversation did have to start being, this is a no, but it's a no because I love you.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, I know you want this thing, but we're not going to provide it for you. You're going to have to work for it.
Right.
And that's really difficult.
That is tough.
And I can't say that I know the line on love and enabling.
Right.
Like I know that it's a very fine line, like you said.
Right.
But I don't really know. It's like I don't know exactly.
I know there's times that we've probably swung to each end of the spectrum.
Yeah, 100%. Probably.
Throughout our time.
Right.
Being just parents.
Well, and even saying that, like you think about like swinging to either side, and I know we said in our last podcast, like our faith really does kind of guide how we parent, how we do life.
Yeah.
And just coming from like this biblical example, I mean, I woke up to like just a verse of the day, and it was talking about how we should act in mercy because that's the way God is. So that in acting in mercy, we imitate God. Mm-hmm. That can be really confusing.
Right.
Because mercy is like this is what you deserve, but I'm not going to give you what you deserve.
Right.
And in a consequence way, not like I'm withholding something good from you. And so I'm going to be compassionate on you. And that can even be twisted. Like, what's this level of compassion?
It's always hard to know.
And I'm just gifting you versus you have to work. And I think that's why it's so important to understand it like in a fullness. Again, what experts don't know.
Right.
But I do know like the scriptures and us being guided by that, there are so many examples of like you do work and then you see a result, right? But then there's also the example of like where it comes to what we believe about like Jesus and our salvation is like there wasn't work that we could do.
Yeah.
And so I think that as parents we have to balance that.
Right.
Like when is it that they actually have to put in the work and see the result, but then also when is it that we step in and say, hey guys, like this, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve this sacrifice.
Right.
Your work would never earn it, but I'm going to give this to you.
Right. Yeah, that's always hard, especially with the fact that we're not God.
Right, exactly. You don't know.
Yeah. I mean, God, if you're watching, you can comment and let us know when that is.
Yeah, which way do we do it?
Please put that in the comments, God, if you're watching.
I mean, because I know there was a specific instance, like, where one of our children, it's been more hands-off, and, like, they understand what's kind of expected out of them, but don't always do what's expected.
Right.
And it's like, back to the what's selfish and what's not selfish, even for myself. Like, hey, you were supposed to do certain things.
Yeah.
Well, I want these certain things done, and I want them done in a timeline.
Sure.
Do I get you up to do those certain things? Because on me, I didn't set a consequence. Because, like, what do I do now? Like, I should have set some kind of consequence for that, but I didn't. So it's like, okay, I wake this child up to say, hey, you have this responsibility.
Right.
But then I go read the verse of the day about mercy. Like, that's confusing.
It can be very confusing.
Like, okay, did I enable behavior?
Sure.
By waking them up? It actually won. I mean, it was a win for me because the thing that I needed done got done.
Got done, yeah.
But then, should I have been merciful? Like, what did that look like in that situation?
Yeah.
And the way I handled it was try to be gracious, gentle. Hey, this is what's expected. I understand that you're going through this, and this.
Yeah.
I need you to do this. And that child responded well to that, but still, inside of me, not the expert, I don't know that I had the answer.
Yeah, it is tough. Because I think also, you also got to, and you've talked about this before, you're not sure if, these things you're expecting are fully for them, or is it just things the way you like it?
Right, yeah.
And I think you had to get to a spot where you had to come to terms with that. It's just because this is the way I like it.
Right. 100%.
It's not really for you. It's
100%.
For me, 100%. It's not really for you.
Right. And so it wasn't enabling, or it wasn't a gift. It wasn't like, hey, there's something for you to be earned. Like, my family, my friends know that I'm kind of particular about my home. Not creepily particular. I've gotten better over the years, but I do like things a certain way.
Right.
You know, I do like things clean. I feel at peace and clean. And so our kids have a responsibility to clean their rooms. A lot of families are like, just shut the room. I don't care. Like, right? That wasn't me. Like, we live in a ranch-style house right now. So I go by their bedroom every single day, multiple times. When we did have a second floor, it was a little bit easier. I didn't go up there, whatever. But now we're in this ranch-style home, and I go by their bedroom multiple times a day, and like, I need their rooms clean. And sometimes it's not bad, right? Like, what they've done, it wasn't bad. To them, it's clean. It's probably cleaner than what they would live in, but it's not to what I want it.
Right.
And so I lived so long getting upset about that. Like, I feel like I gotta go behind them. And it was because of the tension that we're talking about. Am I giving them something and enabling them, or I'm requiring them to work for something?
Right.
Like, where is that boundary? And so that's kind of the thing. I lived in the tension because I was judging myself.
Sure.
Honestly, I was judging myself.
Yeah.
And I finally came to terms one day, and I think I told you, I was like, you know what? I'm done with this.
Right.
I am not straightening that bed for them.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for them. I am doing it for me, because it's not like they left it a total mess. It's not like they refused to make it and things were everywhere.
Right.
It just wasn't aesthetically where I wanted it. And so I now don't say anything to them. Right. As long as it's made and it's acceptable to...
There's an attempt made.
Yeah, and it's like... Because I don't also want to produce this thing of perfectionism in them.
Right,
because they have a standard, and it's a fine standard.
Yeah.
There's just something different for me.
They're going to have to create their own standards when it comes to stuff like that.
And there's something different for me. And so I just decided I'm done with playing the game in my mind of, is this a boundary? Am I enabling? Is it just a gift? Am I being merciful? I was just done with it. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing it for me. It is selfish. So when that blanket is not all the way pulled and I want it pulled, I'm going to walk by there and pull it. I'm not going to say anything to that child. I'm not going to be bitter at that child. I'm not going to hear my husband's voice saying I'm enabling. I am just saying it's for me, and I'm going to move on with my life.
Which, I mean, that helped me too, because I know it's not... It's just that's just the way you like it, and you're just doing it for the way you like it.
Right.
There's an attempt made. They're not necessarily being disobedient or things like that. It's more, hey, they've attempted it, they've done it, and you're just doing it just for the way you like it.
Right, and it wasn't going to be anything detrimental to their future. It's not like they were going to live in a house that was unlivable.
Right.
So and it was just like, hey, this is for me.
Yeah.
And I think getting back to the point of like giving our children things versus having them earn it, I think that's some things that it comes into play as well. Like we were talking about. Yeah. Sometimes we want them to have something because it benefits us.
Right. Yep.
And it could get a little confusing for them too. It's like, why did you give me that thing, but you won't give me the thing I really want? Right. And ours, that comes into play. Maybe we'll talk about that in more depth.
Conversations will come up, yeah.
But sometimes our own selfishness definitely comes into play. Like when we're doing life, even in parenting where we don't want that to happen or we think we don't want that to happen. So I think that really is that whole idea of why we've said, like, I want you to earn something because I want you to learn something. But also we can give because we also want to show our children this generosity. And I don't know.
And we want them to be seen, too.
And we want them to be seen. And so I don't know that we've gotten the balance right.
No, I don't think so.
I do know they're going to pay for their car
Once again, we're
insurance,
not God. So.
Right. And we're not gurus. And
we're not gods or gurus.
Yeah. That probably should have been the name of the podcast. Not gods or gurus.
Totally missed it.
We did. Maybe we have to do a spinoff. I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe it's going to be our...
Tell us what you think about that name.
That's our little motto.
Subtitle.
Yeah, our subtitle.
Not gods or gurus.
That's really good. I like it. But yeah, just thinking like, did we did we strike the right balance of it? And I feel like when we've gotten it wrong, we've at least communicated.
Right.
Or we don't know if it's wrong.
When we realize we've gotten it wrong.
Yeah. Or if we didn't even know. We're like, hey, we're giving you this because. And we really give them a contextualized reason of, this is why you're receiving this, and it might have looked different than what we said or what you received a year ago or whatever.
Communication.
And then when we're like, no, this is what you're going to do as far as the things that you're responsible for paying for as you're becoming an adult.
Right.
And it really does, like we talked in our last podcast, it sets the child up to this transition stage of becoming an adult. So if I pay for their insurance, if I pay for their car, if I, pay every time they want to go for fast food or whatever it is,
yeah, whatever,
then I've made myself like their source.
Yes.
And I never get out of this parent-child relationship where I can be their mentor, and then they can become an adult and succeed.
Then it can really be a gift that you're gifting them when it comes to things like, hey, I've noticed this about you, or when it's not necessarily expected.
It's not expected. Right, exactly. And so I think that, us striking that balance of what are you going to earn, and then where are we going to come in and give? Because we do like to give gifts to our kids. We love it.
Love it.
We like to surprise them with things.
Again, even though they may not act surprised when we give it to them.
I was going with that, because sometimes we've given these big, extravagant, like what we felt like were extravagant, not material things. Again, we're the experiential people. But we've given these big, extravagant experiences, and they're like, thank you. I mean, I think that's what comes out. And then we're bummed because why? It was selfish.
I did not get the big, huge Disney celebration for doing the first trip to Disney.
Yeah, we didn't. It was just
we didn't get one of those magical moments. We got, oh, cool, Disney World.
Yeah. Exactly.
What?
Exactly.
But anyway, sorry, that's just me airing out some bitterness.
Yeah. So, and so there is that. Like I said, there's that balance between giving and earning.
Yep.
But I think if we had to sum this up in anything, I would say that in our family, we value teaching our children to work for the things that they're going to receive. And the reason is because, one, we feel like there's going to be this sense of ownership that is going to equal stewardship or caring well for.
Right.
And then, two, I think there's also a sense of accomplishment and pride that says, I can do this. It empowers them versus enabling them. Because a lot of times if you're just giving, the child can internalize that as, I can't do this on my own. And that
or
really,
if you're always having to come in and help rescue, then they're not fully able.
And I mean, to be really honest, as our kids grew up, I rescued a lot because I wanted them to know they were loved. And I wish earlier on I would have known. Once again, there's that tension. There's the tension of enabling and love. I wish I would have known the language of, hey, I love you, and everything inside of me wants to do this for you, but because I love you, I'm going to let you do this on your own. Yeah. Because it's going to teach you things that me doing for you wouldn't. Right. And I wish I would have known that language earlier. Yeah. But I've gone back and I've talked to the kids, and we do have that language now. Yeah. But it is still a struggle because when you see your child, which is an extension of yourself, it's like, for me, it's like my heart on the outside of my body. Right. Yeah. And you see them hurt, you want to fix it. Yep. Or you see them in need, you want to fix them. Or even in want, like they lack something. Right. And they're right, like their friends might have the newer car, or they might be paying, your mom and dad's paying gas, or the car payment. Or when they're younger, they've got all the name brands. And in those moments where it seems like a gap, you want to rush in and fix it. And a lot of times what we did was we tried to stuff truth in. Yeah. Hey, guys, I know that's good right now, but these things are going to tear down. They're going to break. Yep. it's not teaching you the thing that's going to stay with you a lot longer.
Right.
You know, that shoe, you're going to outgrow it. You know, that car eventually, you know, it's going to depreciate.
Right.
It's, you know, might get wrecked. It might get rusted. But these lessons of you knowing how to work for something and take care of something.
Those are going to reward you
and then
lot
it just,
longer.
Right. And it builds up this confidence that you can, like, kind of take the world and begin to manage yourself and other things within it. That's going to last a lot longer than that material possession.
Right. And it's also harder, too, like you going back to what you were saying earlier about, you know, you see them lacking something or struggling and things like that. Because, I mean, me personally, there's a struggle, and it's a selfish one because you want to be the hero.
Right,
Especially for me as a dad, wanting to be the hero, come in and save the day.
Right.
And things like that. You got to kind of fight that and be able to hold that back because that might not be.
Yeah.
You might not be coming to save the day.
Yeah. That's
Even
true.
though it looks like it and feels like it.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
That's true. And then I think there is the balance where, you know, you do want to save the day because it cultivates relationship. And
sure.
I know there's been
Another
times
tension.
there's been such a tension with you and with our daughter because you want her to be independent, you want her to be strong, and I always want it to be a daddy's girl, and so you want her to be independent and strong and not really need to depend on a man, and that's just all that's different. I want it to be a daddy's girl and wanted daddy to rescue me and those things, but then there's times that our daughter might want something super simple, and it's like, yeah, we can do this, but this is the part you're going to play in it, and she just wanted to be served.
Sure.
Because she is a very independent young lady. And so we talked back and forth about that because that goes back to, am I enabling? Am I loving? So I don't think we ever get it perfect. I mean, I would be willing to bet that the experts don't even get that perfect.
Probably not.
You know? And I think we might pull some in on our podcast.
That would be good.
And just ask them about some of these things. Like,
it'd be like
how
Pee-wee's Playhouse. We'll just bring people in to have them come sit down and talk.
Exactly. We'll have to get more than one microphone at that time, though. It can't just be two parents and
we'll
one
keep
microphone.
it the same title, though.
Yeah.
Unless we change it to Gods and Gurus.
Yeah.
Or not Gods and not Gurus.
Not
Gods.
I've
already forgot what it is.
Yeah. But,
right.
I mean, again, it goes back to that just, am I enabling? Am I loving? And then there's
nature
a time.
versus nurture.
There's a time that you step in with love. And kind of, you don't need to worry about if you're enabling. I mean, those simple things, because they're building something in that child. They're building that bond in that child to know, I've got a support system. And then there are other times that it's like, okay, you had plenty of notice. You knew that project was due. We prepared you that you were going to pay your insurance or whatever it might be. And now you have to step out and make it happen. And I think maybe that's looking back, you know, hindsight's 20/20, right?
Sure, always.
Looking back, I think we tried to do it, but that is like, okay, in this situation, I'm going to act with an abundance of love because I'm developing relationship. I am creating a bond.
Right.
I'm just lavishing love on my child. This situation you were prepared for, and if we step in and rescue, then we've enabled you.
Exactly.
And so if we can leave you guys with that,
maybe
that's actually some wisdom. That's some wisdom that 18 years later we have.
When we get to have earlier. So. But anyway, tell us what you guys, what your thoughts are. Tell us where you land in that whole debate, nature versus nurture. Tell us what kind of tension you have had, you know, in your times with your kids or when you've been dealing with the next generation. We'd love to hear you guys join the conversation.
Right.
We'd love to jump in with you. Also, if you like the video, like the content, don't forget to, you know, like it, subscribe so you can get more videos. And we'll join you on the next conversation.
See you next time.
Cue the music.
Two parents and a microphone.